Yo, what's good, yo? Hope y'all feeling good. Sorry about taking long to come into the stream. I messed up the Instagram stream, the Instagram Johnsky again, so had to fix that. But we good. We strizzy. I hope everybody's feeling good. Right now. I'm feeling kind of good. That off work good, but still like I have to go back tomorrow. So yeah, which leads me to wanting to go ahead and get into these things because your boy do got work tomorrow. So I guess we should go ahead and get into it because this one's going to be kind of impromptu. I have one article that I want to talk about in reference to China, as you guys saw. The only topic I won't be covering that wasn't in the description is the Door 24. For I'm gonna save that for Friday. I think I'm gonna save that for Friday. But the talk probably saw in the thumbnail was my golf swing. My golf swing is very it's like nah. Roe v. Wade, man. I feel like we've talked about it before. I feel like everybody's been talking about it ad nauseum, and it's like it sucks. It really sucks. Because on one hand, I am a person who's pro-choice, but then on the other hand, I can't help but feel like okay, the government, is stripping women of their rights. The government is basically saying fuck bodily autonomy, and the same part of the government that was screaming about bodily autonomy when it came to the vaccines, which I agreed with, but then turn hypocrisy. They go full shit lib when it comes to um abortion. Their hypocrisy shows their inability to have principled stances and have consistency when it comes to things they claim to believe in is showing. And I knew that was going to happen. I talk about it all the time. Like conservatives have been extremely correct on Russia so far, but um change out Russia for China and they're going to lose their fucking minds and go go full war hawk. So I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't surprised by that aspect, but just that they actually did it. If you've been following politics, abortion is one of those, tried and true wedge issues that literally people have their beliefs on their side, and like it's very rare that people change those views. That's just the fact of the matter. You know, I'm a person, like I said, I'm pro-choice. I think I believe in bodily autonomy, and that's just it. So that's where I stand on it. But get into the liberal side though. I can't help but feel some type of way when you see how hard they going for this shit. But when it comes to anything else surrounding labor, when it comes to anything else surrounding police reform, you can't get this amount of outrage for. Dog, I even saw a tweet where this one white liberal called homeboy, what's his face? Oh, I don't have the tweet pulled up. She called Clarence Thomas the N-word. Now, I'm no fan, like hard ER N-word though. Now, look, I'm no fan of Clarence Thomas. Not a fan of that guy. Not a fan of that nigga at all. But it's like for you to get like that in your bag about abortion to the point where you thought calling a black man the N-word with the hard ER was okay. Like that should that's kind of, that's kind of sketch. That should let you know, what's up with that. But just the outrage and then seeing how hard people are going with it. Now, there were some people who like kind of had their heads on straight. Well, not necessarily. I can't even say that because they were like kind of losing their minds too. But like it was this one chick I saw on like NBC or something like that, where I'm trying to find a tweet now so I could just play the video. But I can't find it. But basically, like she was talking about the Democratic Party and how the Democratic Party basically is using women's rights as a way of fundraising and to get people to go out and vote for them. And it's like, damn, this chick is really getting it. She really understands. She even brought up the fact that Barack Obama had a supermajority when he first came into office in 2009, and all he did with it was pass a right-wing healthcare plan. Like she didn't bring up the right-wing healthcare plan part, but she brought up the fact that Barack Obama had a super majority, and that was one of his campaign promises. Let me actually show you all that video. This shit is so hilarious, bro. So of all the Obama worship that I see people going on about and everything like that, this is what Obama had to say. So this is him before the election.
What would you do at the federal level, not only to ensure access to abortion, but to make sure that the judicial nominees that you will inevitably...
So let me run it back.
What would you do at the federal level, not only to ensure access to abortion, but to make sure that the judicial nominees that you will inevitably be able to pick are true to the core tenets of Roe v. Wade?
Well, the first thing I do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act.
What was that? What was that you said, buddy?
Are true to the core tenets of Roe v. Wade.
Well, the first thing I do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that I do.
So he said he would sign the Freedom of Choice Act, right? Boom. There you have it. Oh my God, first black president. He wouldn't lie to me, right? Wait for it. Then he circles around afterwards. I think this is like after, well, this is after he got elected. It is in his first term too, I believe, because he still like looks fairly young. This is what he had to say after he got elected.
The Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority. I believe that
what was that?
Women should have.
What was that you said?
The Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority.
So for people like me that have seen through Barack Obama's bullshit, you know, like we were able to see through the mythology that is Barack Obama and see how full of shit he is. I knew that. This is the same guy that said he was going to prosecute all of the people that were running torture programs within the Bush administration, Bush himself, Bush and Cheney, you know, launching the illegal war in Iraq, you know, all of these war crimes and everything Barack Obama was like going on and on about during when he was trying to get elected. And then after he got elected, you know, we gotta find the seams and how he talks and, you know, doesn't say anything. And then got around to just saying, you know, we tortured some folks, but we have to find some way to move forward with a middle ground. And yeah, we just got to move forward. That's just what it, like that type of thing. Like people like that I've seen through that shit already. I've seen through Barack Obama already. I've seen through Democrats already. It's the liberals who just go vote Democrat. You know, they don't have any issues, especially like more of the cappuccino commie types, you know, people like that, the woke crowd and everything. Like they vote based upon identity politics stuff. And then whenever it's imperialism, like right now they have all of them have Ukrainian flags and they're, you know, they talk about socialism, but like the only socialism they recognize is the socialism within white European countries that still their socialism hinges on imperialism. So it's not socialism because it's not anti-imperialism. It's kind of friendly capitalism, really. But they don't like they shit on all the other actual socialist countries, but within the states domestically, when it comes to domestic issues, you know, a lot of the issues that other voters vote for Democrats for, they don't give a shit about. They don't give a shit about police reform. You know, they don't give a shit about healthcare. They don't give a shit about any of these other issues. Education. Well, some of them do, because some of them do have student debt, but they're working at, you know, jobs where they could kind of pay it back. But still, regardless, like, you know, these issues people don't like, they don't give a fuck about. It's abortion, and it's showing labor issues as well. Like, imagine, like, bro, I just made a TikTok earlier. I didn't post it yet, but I was like, I saw this article where like this chick was holding up a sign that said, you know, women should go on a sex strike. And that was like trending on Twitter. You saw all these like feminist chicks, you know, talking about a sex strike and things like that. I'm like, imagine if we could do a fucking general strike. Like if y'all could put forth this energy you're putting forward towards abortion, towards actual, you know, which I'm not saying women's rights aren't actual tangibles, but like on that would honestly that would impact the abortion argument in a real way. Because one of my things I talk about all the time, especially as somebody who leans more towards Marxism and socialism, you know, my thing is like, okay, yes, I am pro-choice, but the fact that we harp on abortion and we don't harp on the economic circumstances that forces women to get abortions, the fact that we don't focus on that, it's very disturbing to me. And that we only focus on abortion, it's very disturbing to me. And then, you know, you get the right-wing crowd that brings in like the Margaret Sanders, saying, I think that's how you say it, the chick who founded Planned Parenthood, but she turns out she was actually a racist ass bitch. She was a eugenics chick, everything like that too. Well, they don't give you the full history and scope behind that. Was that Margaret Sanger, you know, aligned herself with the Soviet Union, but when she found out the Soviet Union wasn't this like sexual, freedom liberation paradise, like the Soviet Union was actually focused on real politics, like changing people's lives. That's when she started going to like these Ku Klux Klan rallies and shit like that, and started rubbing elbows with the eugenics crowd and all that shit. So it's great, man. Craziness. You don't get the full scope on both sides, but regardless, the point I'm making is that like it's crazy that we can have all this headway with abortion in terms of getting people out on the streets, where you couldn't get it with $15 minimum wage. And Joe Biden said, fuck you guys, I'm not going to pass that. When it came to Build Back Better, I knew he wasn't going to do that. And I honestly didn't want any of that shit because they were pushing a lot of the green energy shit, which they got through. And that's not me saying I'm against, finding alternatives to fossil fuels that is degrading the planet. That's not what I'm saying. The way those niggas are trying to go about it, like AOC, that crowd and everything, like they're trying to impoverish global South countries, because there are a lot of global South countries whose economies on oil, on oil exportation. That's just a fact of the matter. You can't just go to these countries and say, hey, we're not fucking with fossil fuels no more. That's insanity. You'll literally you saw it happen with Venezuela. And that was what is the word I'm looking for? That was a targeted maneuver to make that happen to them. So but then you go into the whole, I can't help, and as a black person too, I'm just gonna keep it a bean. Like, I can't help but see a bunch of white women out protesting, but you never see these same white women when it comes to reparations. Actually, a lot of these same white women tell us that reparations is too divisive. If you ask me, if you're asking me that, I think abortion is more divisive than reparations. Like, if you were to actually sit down, remove all of the political bullshit that has gone into reparations and talking about it, and like a lot of the political tape that our politicians have put around, if you sit down with a logically thinking person and you explain to them reparations, most people would be in favor of it, especially when they understand that it's not necessarily coming out of their like, I'm not giving you money, it's coming from the government. The government creates money every day. They just literally created $50 billion out of thin air just by typing in a number and sent it over to Ukraine for nothing. That's my argument with libertarians too. It's not about printing money, necessary. Like, it's bad with the way we're doing it, where you're giving, all you're doing is giving it to rich people, and you're giving it to fucking weapons manufacturers in the corrupt foreign countries. Of course, that's going to be bad. And if, wielding our currency as a weapon that makes people want to dump it, of course that's bad. But if you're investing, say like we took that $40 billion and invested it here, like we actually gave reparations to black people. Like, you talk about how the black community, white people talk about, oh, what about Chicago? Could you imagine what $40 billion, whenever a school shooting happens or some police shooting happens, you hear a lot of conservative white people, they always talk about, like, what about Chicago? Well, what about I think that would change a lot of shit. Obviously changing the leadership as well, but still, regardless, like, a lot of investing in your people is never a bad thing. Like, that investing in your people is not a bad thing, because it's in the long run, whether it's education, whether it's infrastructure, healthcare, all those things that go into that, energy, all of it. So it's just, but the point I'm making is, I find it like utter insanity and lunacy that we hear all this rah-rah when it comes to abortion. You hear like a lot of these liberal chicks out there, oh, we're gonna riot, da-da-da. Not, fuck out of here. And even if you do, you saw what happened with Black Lives Matter. They did all that rioting, they did all that protesting. I'm not saying everybody that was out there protesting was rioting, but riots happen, shit happened. What they did was fund more fucking police. That's literally what they did. And then on top of that, y'all told us to go vote for Biden, who wrote the crime bill. But the funny part about Joe Biden is, not only does he have a history of being against black people, he has a history of being against women. Obviously, like, we all know about that with Tara Reid. Like, anybody who watches my show knows about that. But I found this interesting. Somebody put this tweet out. Let me scroll through. I'm in my bookmarks right now. I gotta find it. Oh, we're gonna get to that Marjorie Taylor Greene, John, too. That was hilarious. Here we go, right here. Joe Biden's record on opposing abortion. 1974, Joe Biden said, "I don't like the Supreme Court decision on abortion. I don't think a woman has the sole right to say what should happen to her body." 1982, Joe Biden votes to allow states to overturn Roe v. Wade. What is this? 1988, Joe Biden repeatedly votes against inclusion of exceptions of rape and incest into the Hyde Amendment. 1992, Joe Biden voices opposition for litmus on abortion for Supreme Court justices. 1994, Joe Biden brags he voted against federal funding of abortion. On no less than 50 occasions. That's a quote. He bragged about that. He said on no less than 50 occasions. He was bragging about that. Joe Biden used to brag about it. Well, he still does. He still brags about the crime bill. 2003, Joe Biden votes for a bill that would overturn Roe v. Wade by criminalizing the most common procedures used under the first trimester. 2008, Joe Biden, "I do not view abortion as a choice and a right." This is in 2008. It's 2008. So, and again, like, I'm not, oh, here's the video I was talking about. Found it. Just found it. Let me go back. But before we get to it, but I'm gonna come back here real quick. But yeah, like, hey, good looks, Millie. Good looks, bro. But like Biden is like, bro, this is who this guy is. And this is who Democrats are. They weren't like, a lot of these Democrats aren't in favor of abortion, bro. They're really not. They tap dance for y'all. Like, it's the same way they do with black people. Like, this is one guy I watch. His name's The Amazing Lucas. He tries to make this argument about, like, anti-black racism or anti-black racism, which there is that, of course, nobody's denying that. But within the political structure, it's not about your race or color. It's about how many votes I can get and how hard I got to tap dance to get them votes. That's what it's all about, regardless of your color, because capitalism, this is what I keep trying to explain to people. And he's a conservative, so he's not going to get it. He hates communism. Any of the critiques of capitalism, he hates. So my thing is, like, whenever you're in a capitalistic system, there's always going to be exploitation and repression of rights, no matter fucking what. And you're always going to see these types of situations going down, because that's just what the fuck it is, bro. It's just what it is. And it's just very, like, it's very ironic. Like I said, as a black man, I was being told, not just by like white activists or white allies, I was being told by black people and people I thought were like for the movement, telling me to vote for Jim Crow Joe. I was like, damn, that's how I knew nothing was going to happen. When y'all told, as soon as they told me, bro, as soon as a lot of the people out there, advocating, protesting and all that, telling me to go Biden, I knew it was a wrap, bro. I knew it was a wrap. Honestly. That's what I knew. Because it's like, bro, if you know this nigga's record, you know he's not going to do shit for you. And if you think he's going to do shit for you, you are a moron. You are a dummy. And I'm not following you because you're dumb. It's the blind, like you're leading people to death. You're sheep herding people. So, but let's go. Yeah, let me show y'all that video though. That's what I was looking for, that because I found it fascinating. Here we go. So this was little Shorty had to say. This is John I was talking about earlier. Let me run it back. So it looks like it's from Status Quo.
Fault. They let this happen. This is the Democrats' fault. They let this happen. We let this happen. I mean, look at the majority.
The heck? I don't know why I just did that.
Blinders.
This is the Democrats' fault. They let this happen. We let this happen. I mean, look at the majority that Obama had in
2009.
Nothing. The Republicans have been saying that they were going to do this for 50 years since Roe was passed.
Right.
They've been saying they were going to do this, and
they did it.
They did it, and they did it, and they're not stopping there. This is just the beginning.
So she gets it. She gets it. Democrats allowed this to happen. Blah, blah, blah. But look where her brain goes after this, and this is where I'm like, you don't get it though.
This is just the start. So I blame the Democrats. Unfortunately, I'm voting blue.
So how does your brain circle back to that? Like, I've seen this before. Don't get it twisted. I've definitely seen this before. I've seen this with black people. Black people do this thing where they're voting to basically like not allow the monsters to come through the gate, basically, because they view most Republicans, as these big, mean, racist, scary people, which, it's to some level that's true on some levels, but then you have people like Thomas Massey out there and different folks and everything. And then you have independents, even people like Rand Paul, like during the Black Lives Matter protests, when they ran up on Rand Paul, I was like, dude, you're running up on an ally. You're running up on the senator who literally has put a bill on the floor called Justice for Breonna Taylor, who y'all been screaming about, rightfully so, because what they did to her. Fuck cops, by the way. We're going to be talking about cops either Wednesday or Friday as well. But you're running up on the senator who literally has a bill on the floor called Justice for Breonna Taylor. Literally. He's a libertarian. I feel like, although you may not agree with libertarians economically, definitely I don't. When it comes to civil liberties, for the most part, most of them are with you on that shit. Most of them are with you. So but again, that mindset with black people, this is that kind of, except this is a white chick. So usually she looks white. I don't know what she is, but she looks white. I'm just gonna say she's white because she looks white. But that mindset, how do you get back to that? And especially as a white woman, because they usually are carte blanche with their vote. Like, it was like a whole slew of white women when Hillary didn't make it, not in 2016, in 2008, a whole bunch of white women went and voted for John McCain that we're not supposed to talk about. But we're supposed to talk about the invisible Bernie bros that went and voted for Trump. Like, if you liked Bernie, like, if you understand the Bernie people that would have voted for Bernie, I would have voted for Bernie solely because he was the closest person to the ideas that I liked. He wasn't my preferred candidate. Like, in 2016, he wasn't my preferred candidate, but definitely in 2020, he wasn't my preferred candidate. In 2020, I would have voted for Tulsi personally. That wouldn't happen now, of course, but for me personally, but they're not voting. Those Bernie people are not voting for Trump. I can tell you that right now. So that's bullshit that they say. But we have actual statistical documentation, evidence saying that a bunch of them Hillary voters, most of them white women, turned around and went and voted for John McCain. So that's why I'm kind of surprised that she's saying this. She's still going to vote, blue, because they usually, I mean, obviously, well, I'm not surprised given that she's voting based upon, like abortion rates and things like that. But I wouldn't be surprised in the primary if it came down to like the identity politics candidate, like the Hillary or like a Bernie-esque. She'll like basically say fuck Bernie and vote for Hillary because abortion and Supreme Court and all this bullshit. But like I showed you, like, you vote for Hillary, she probably would have said the same bullshit that Obama said, like, before and after. So not surprised by that, but this is crazy.
Like I always have, but this is their fault. So
unfortunately, that makes no sense. And then there was this video too that I found interesting. It was this one. So I think people are catching on. So this is in Houston, Texas. This is Beto O'Rourke. His fucking candy ass. He's going out basically to try and pander to get votes down in Texas. And this crowd isn't having it. They're not having it. Here, this is what they had to say.
Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff.
Look at him. He's looking around like, trying to pander to you guys. Like, come on, let me pander. And they're like, fuck no, nigga.
Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff.
But yeah, so I found all that interesting. But let me get into the nitty gritty of what I really have to say about this. And this is going to piss some people off, especially women, some liberal women off. I'm not tailing behind y'all on this one, bro. I'm not cheering from the, like, I got into like a little Facebook debate. It was about something different, and one of the girl, the women I was talking to, one of them was saying, You know, you need to be focused on helping us fight for our uterus rights. Da da da. That's where your money. My mind's not there because when I kept telling y'all bitches that they was gonna do this, y'all kept calling me a coon when I was pointing out Obama's bullshit. Y'all kept calling me a misogynist when I was pointing out Hillary's bullshit and Nancy Pelosi's bullshit as well. Nancy Pelosi also said abortion rights wasn't the priority of the Democratic Party right now because their priority will always be serving their donors first and foremost. Y'all need to know that. But it's just crazy. Like I was warning y'all about this on the political side, but then on the actual, on the real, like I don't tell behind liberals when it comes to that shit. Like that time for me is over, bro. Like I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna get my 2 cents. Like I told y'all, I'm pro-choice. You know, me personally, I'm pro-choice because I'm pro. You know, I'm consistent on my stance when it comes to bodily autonomy. You know, so that's why I'm pro-choice. But like, I'm not telling behind y'all on this. Like y'all go out there and protest and get nothing in return for it. That's what y'all could do. Go riot, have at it. And also on a deeper level, I can't help but see this as a Bonapartist maneuver. Now, Bonapartist and Bonapartism is a new thing I learned on the channel, so I like saying it a lot. But we're seeing it play out right now. You're seeing the divisions, rival elite factions manipulating Americans with different beliefs against each other. They did it with COVID. Now they're doing it with abortion. They tried it with guns. I think it's kind of working, but it's crazy how the gun thing kind of backfired because it's coming up with the abortion stuff a little bit. But I feel like people are focusing on the Uvalde police right now on how bad they handled that situation. So I think that kind of backfired for them. But I can't help but see this as a Bonapartist maneuver to keep people fighting with each other while the rich people run out the back door with all the money. Like you're still going to be able, like they're not banning abortion in America. In certain states they are, but you can go to other states and get an abortion. Now, that's where I hear women tell me, well, women use period trackers and everything. So that's data that they can collect and harvest and things like that. And they're like, well, they can track us through that. So if we leave the state and get in, like, if we haven't had a period and we leave the state to go get an abortion, they can basically put 2 and 2 together, find out we had an abortion, and they could throw us in jail. That's the law. If it's against the law, blah, blah, blah. My thing is, oh, really? That's very interesting. Where were you bitches at when they were violating people's right to privacy when it comes to their medical shit? This is what we kept saying about the vaccines when it came to mandates. You shouldn't have to reveal your personal medical information. Now with the vaccines, like it was a case of being forced to reveal it. Y'all was willingly giving it away. And look, I'm not a woman, so I don't know, all the stuff with the period trackers and all that. So look, I get it. If you got to use it, fine. But that was you willingly, like, giving them that opportunity to do that. You had people who didn't want to get the vaccine who weren't doing that. They were being forced to do that. They were being forced to reveal their vaccination status, forced to reveal their medical history, which, again, it's kind of hypocritical that you take autonomy stance when y'all were willing to let the government go all willy-nilly and fucking stick needles in everybody when it came to the jab. And that's just another layer of it where I'm like, y'all not actually about bodily autonomy. It's just affecting you now. And that's where I call out the conservatives too, because the conservatives previously was on the flip side with the vaccines. Now, they're going full whatever. I know people that aren't Christian that are like, pro-life and everything like that. But it's like, bro, you can't like enforce that, your beliefs on other people, whatever. I'm not here to get into that. I'm just here to point out the hypocrisy of both sides, because both sides in this argument, especially, are full of shit, are entirely full of shit. So it's just incredible, honestly, to see the ground swelling, all these people talking about, oh, we're going to overthrow the government. We're going to run up on, like, could you imagine, just imagine this. Imagine if, for example, January 6th, like Black Lives Matter and the Trump people put their issues aside to storm the Capitol for healthcare. Oh, could you fucking imagine? Could you fucking imagine if that happened? If all of this all of this rah-rah, all of this energy that's surrounding fighting for abortion rights right now. Could you imagine if this was, I don't know, going towards stopping a potential nuclear war? Because that's what our government's doing right now. They're stoking a proxy war with a nuclear armed power, regardless of whether you like Russia or not. The United States is stoking a proxy war with a nuclear armed nation in Russia. I think Russia is actually the largest nuclear nation in the fucking world. Could you imagine if we had protests to stop that, to stop, at the very least, stop sending money to them in arms? No, of course not. You can't get that. All of these things, when it comes to, like, I'd say this shit about conservatives all the time. Y'all talk about how y'all don't want y'all kids to be bombarded with the LGBTQ agenda. Can we feed them little niggas? It's a lot of them. Like, I think it's like 1 in 3 of them that go to sleep hungry. I like, can we feed them? Can we stop worrying about gay people being around them and, I don't know, feed them? Can we worry about educating them? Can we worry about lead and shit not being in their water not being poisoned? Can we do that too? So again, this is the hypocrisy I'll point out on both sides, but because one side is just so fucking loud right now, like, I'm like, honestly, I can't fraud. Like, I've been wanting to go out there and troll. Like I said, even though I'm pro-choice, I've been wanting to go out and just troll because I'm like, y'all are children. Y'all are completely and utterly ridiculous. Y'all are children having an attack right now because, again, your rights are being infringed on and your rights are being attacked. When you were laughing at people, oh, you're just mad because you can't go get a haircut. But when you actually go down and talk to whoever lockdowns, he's mad because they are blocking him from going out to get a job. They're stopping him from his ability to work and feed his family because they were doing lockdowns and they weren't giving. And then when it came to the vaccines, they were firing people who wouldn't get the vaccine. I know, for example, I missed out on 3 job opportunities because of my vaccination status at the time. And there's certain jobs I don't apply to now because I know my vaccination status is going to block me from getting that job. So I'm literally working a job now that I'm not so happy at, and it's a lot less money, but it's a job. But at the same time, it's like, wow, I could have been at this job. Like, literally, there was one job where I would have been making $25 an hour. A lot of people aren't blessed to have that. And it's like, I missed out on it because of my vaccination status. Missed out on 2 other jobs as well. But yeah, if you're going to be for bodily autonomy, be consistent, because you're going to lose people that see you being a fucking hypocrite at every fucking turn. And people like me that really pay attention to it and see it is like, nah, I'm chilling. I'm gonna sit this one out. And then on top of that, me myself, as a Marxist, I don't believe in tailing. I don't believe in tailing leaderships. That's why when we talk about abortion, I'm saying we need to be talking about the economic circumstances that lead a woman to choose abortion. Because in my view, we need to present women a real choice. Because I feel like women choose not to be mothers. A lot of the things I hear people saying that, we got to focus on our career. So a lot of it is financial outside of, crepe, the word that rhymes with that, and, incest and things like that. Outside of that, a lot of it has to do with financial or whatever. They can't afford to have a kid, whatever it is. There's no child care on top of that. Like, people are calling Republicans out for that. I'm like, yo, Democrats are in charge. Like, I don't know, right now. They control every part of government right now. They wanted to bring child care, they can bring it. They don't want to fucking give it to you. That's the thing. They don't fucking care. They're pandering to you. But my thing is, I'm for the economic liberation of women, the actual of whether they are a true choice, not a forced choice based upon their economic circumstances. And again, these are like, when you focus on those issues instead of the things that are going to lose people, like abortion, because that's what they're doing right now, because they see people coming together. That's really what they see. They see a lot of people waking up, and they see a lot of people coming together, and that's what they want to do. They want to stamp that out. So how do you do that? They tried to do what they did. They kind of did it with COVID because those divisions are still there. I feel like they definitely did it with Trump. I feel like Trump was great for waking people up to the bullshit of like the mainstream media and the corruption within the government. But then at the same time, he always was the exact thing he was criticizing. But regardless, I think he was good for that aspect, but I also think he was bad when it came to those divisions because he still divided the country a lot. There were times where if he would have stepped in and kind of had like, don't be Trump for like 5 minutes, bro. Don't be Trump for 5 minutes. He could have really brought a lot of people together. Like, especially like if he reached out to Bernie, if Trump reached out to Bernie, which I'm saying that like in the ideal world, because Bernie probably would have been like, oh, no, I can't do that. Whatever. Like Bernie would have been too pussy to do it, even if he wanted to do it. If Trump would have reached out to Bernie or reached out to Bernie's people and gave Bernie's people some concessions, bro, they would have killed that nigga. I'm telling you right now. If Trump freed Assange like he should have on his way out, but if he freed Assange, if he ended the wars, if he gave people health care, because Donald Trump, a lot of people don't know, was a big advocate of single payer health care, of socialized medicine. He used to say it outright, but like during the campaign trail, there was literally one interview. I played it on my fucking channel before, but there was an interview where he was talking to the interviewer and he was saying like, oh yeah, like the government's gonna pay for it, like that's how it's gonna work. Like, just go watch my old video. Post that on the channel as like what do they call the YouTube shorts or something like that. I might post it on TikTok too. But yeah. So Trump was like, if he would have reached out to the left in that aspect, they were going to be like the synthetic left and the shit libs would be like, oh no, it's a red brown alliance, like you can't fuck them. I say that shit all the time. Fuck them niggas, because they're fucking they're comfortable, they're good. Fuck them niggas. But if he would have reached out and did that, bro, that would have changed a lot of shit. And that's what they're afraid of. But Trump didn't do that. But they saw a lot of people coming together. They see information being spread. That's why they're cracking down with censorship so hard. And they saw people coming together. So that's why they're throwing the tried and true. And I'm so shocked that people are falling for it. I'm really shocked that people, I'm really shocked. I honestly am. I really am. Like, you're going to do abortion now. Like, why not do marijuana? Something that everybody agrees on. Like, almost even the conservatives, like, what's the percentage of conservatives that want marijuana legal? I'm about to Google that. Percentage of conservatives that want legal weed. This is from Marijuana Moment, another poll. Let me pull the article up so y'all can see it too. This is a quick sidebar, but I think it's an interesting sidebar, so fuck it. Let's go ahead and do it. Where is it at? 62% of adults favor legalizing marijuana, while 23% oppose. I'm trying to see what's the exact I want to see what conservatives are saying. Here's the Gallup. This is from 2021. %50 of Republicans, you see it here. 50% of Republicans support the legalization. So like a issue like that, where you have basically a super majority, because 83% of U.S. Democrats and 50% of Republicans support the legalization of marijuana. Like, that's a super majority. Like, why didn't they do an issue like that? No, niggas don't agree on. You feel me? It's like things like that where it make you think. Like, it's a psyop, bro. This whole thing is a psyop. And again, I hate to say that because it comes off like, oh, you don't care about women's rights. I do, which is why I talk about the economic liberation of women to give them an actual choice when it comes to pro-choice. But yeah. So like issues like that, you feel me? Like issues that people like agree on, like where the numbers are there that people agree on. Like, y'all choose the issues that people disagree on the most. Like, they literally have a marijuana bill sitting in the Senate right now, I believe. That's just been sitting there. So, like, you know what it is when shit like that happens, bro. You know what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and on my thoughts there when it comes to Roe v. Wade and everything and the new decision. Like I said, bro, y'all gotta, when it comes to liberal women and especially liberal white women, that's who I'm really talking to in this one. Liberal white women. This is on you. This is on a lot of y'all. Honestly, even the quote unquote progressives, because y'all kept cowtailing for the Democrats. Y'all kept making excuses for them. Y'all kept telling people to go vote for him. As I showed you in that other video with Shorty, she's still going to go vote for him. Even though she knows this is their fault, she's still going to go vote for him. It's lunacy, man. It's lunacy. So it's very satisfying to see people like come around to what I've been saying for like the last since I started this channel. So like what, a year and a half, 2 years. And then I've been saying before I even started the channel, I was like telling people about the Democratic Party. They just thought I was doing like the whole like Candace Owens shtick where I was telling them to vote Republican and shit. Nah, I'm not telling you to vote Republican, but I'm telling you not to vote Democrat because they don't give a shit about you. So that'll end my thoughts there. And we're going to go ahead and move into the next topic. So AOC's been out on the streets protesting and everything like that. But on these Twitter streets, she's been getting her face kicked in metaphorically. I'm not making a threat to AOC. God forbid. I don't want the G-men knocking on my door about AOC. But she been getting ran down on these Twitter streets by Marjorie Taylor Mayonnaise, or as everybody else knows her, Marjorie Taylor. I like to call her Marjorie Taylor Mayonnaise. She just looks like mayonnaise, bro. Like, you ever seen a white woman where you just like, yo, you just look like mayonnaise right now. Just like Karen just doesn't do you justice. You're literally just a glob of mayonnaise. Like, that's how I feel about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And like small doses on the sandwich, sometimes she's good, you know, like here when she's kicking in AOC's Twitter shit. She's running down on her on Twitter and you know, before nobody else will. She's bringing up, you know, sending Ukraine $40 billion and everything like that. She's good on those issues, but then, like, you know, you put too much on there, you know, she starts rambling about how China's trying to put chips in our head, in our heads and shit, and they have a 4-year plan to take over the world, and she knows this because the CIA told her. Oops. That's what Candace Owens likes to say. But let me pull this tweet up with her exchange of AOC. It's kind of beautiful. This is in regards to the abortion thing too. The first tweet I'm going to show you guys. Like, she is actually, let me type it in just so I can see these tweets. I think I got to see it. Hang on. Let me see, because I think I scrolled past it a couple times actually. All right, that's not it. Where does John at? Here it is. Here it is. So this is from the 23rd, and then I'm gonna show you the tweet from when AOC, because this shit was hilarious. Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. It's like, whoa. And this is when Assange's ruling was handed down that basically Priti Patel, I don't know much about her. She's the Tony Blinken, I believe, equivalent in the UK. So she's like, you know, the head of like the State Department. Like, if she was in the United States, she would be the Secretary of State. I forget what her position is called over there in the UK. But yeah, but they signed off to okay Julian Assange's extradition here. I covered it on Friday and broke it down and explained it. So definitely go check that video out so you could, you know, kind of understand the logistics of it. I explained it a little bit. But Julian Assange, you know, he's able to appeal. He had 14 days to appeal, and I think he appealed like literally that day. So she tweeted this out on that day and said, you know who needs to be pardoned? Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. Now, I believe the only progressive who said something about Julian Assange was, what's her face? Was Ilhan Omar. Nobody else. Everybody else, crickets. Fucking crickets. And going back to the tweet I was talking about now, she said, how about you explain, or where's it at? Hang on, give me 1 second. So Marjorie Taylor Greene put out this tweet basically saying AOC just launched an insurrection. Any violence and rioting is a direct result of Democrat marching orders. AOC responded, I will explain this to you slowly. Exercising our right to protest is not obstruction of Congress nor an attempt to overturn democracy. If one were a heinous enough person to do that, they'd likely seek a pardon for it too. But only one of us here has done that, and it ain't me, of course, responding to January 6th shit. Oh yeah, Samira Khan put something down there. I'm gonna get to it, but she said, "How about you explain slowly why you won't support a pardon for Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, and then continue to explain why you were a shill for the military-industrial complex funding war in Ukraine, or are you too busy organizing baby-killing riots?" So that Samira Khan posted this,
that these individuals should leave. This could apply to either Trump or Biden. If you believe that these individuals should be pardoned.
So the Intercept did the Intercept did an interview with her. This was around Forced to Vote. So this is when she was catching shit from Jimmy Dore, and the Intercept did this interview with her to basically run cover for her. I believe this is Ryan or Kate Scahill, whatever the fuck that guy's name is from the Intercept, fuckface, that he did this interview to her. But he asked her about Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, and here's what she had to say.
This could apply to either Trump or Biden. If you believe that these individuals should be pardoned, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Reality Winner, Daniel Hale, and others who have been charged under the Espionage Act because of leaking or publishing information that cut to the heart of some of the crimes of the American empire committed abroad. Should all of those people be pardoned by either Trump or Biden?
I do believe that Edward Snowden should be considered. I think there are considerations and concerns around Assange, to just be completely frank.
This could apply to either Trump or Biden.
There's concerns around Assange being pardoned. Why is there concerns around Assange being pardoned? He committed no crime. The only crime they're accusing him of is journalists, which last time I checked, according to the First Amendment, that's not a crime. Even when and I've covered on this channel, Julian Assange is not a cyber hacker. He didn't commit any cyber crimes. He basically did what most journalists do. You can literally go on Twitter right now as we're on. You can see all types of journalists from the Washington Post, New York Post, the New York Times, all these major newspapers, the Guardian even. They ask people for documents. If you have documents, leaked documents, that's essentially what WikiLeaks and Assange does. They're not actively doing the hacking themselves. So this whole and that's a bullshit mainstream media talking point they use to smear Julian Assange, because they're mad that in 2020 or in the 2016 election, Julian Assange revealed Hillary Clinton's bullshit in her fucking emails. And they tried to say it was a Russian hack. It came from Russia. But as Bill Binney explained, Bill Binney, for the NSA, he's one of the top code breakers ever. He's a certified bona fide genius when it comes to this stuff. He brought up the fact that based upon the data that he saw, that he was able to see, based upon the case, it looked as though somebody actually physically went to the DNC hard drives and downloaded it onto like a hard drive and gave it to somebody. That's what it seems like. So literally a whistleblower within the Democratic Party did this. So the fact that was pushing mainstream media propaganda, was pushing State Department propaganda against Julian Assange. That's what she was doing against a fucking journalist. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling her out for that shit. Now, while this is good for people to see, I need people to understand. Donald Trump could have pardoned Julian Assange. Donald Trump decided not to, because Donald Trump is a pussy. He did not want to go against, as much as the intelligence community was fucking with him, all of this shit. He did not want to buck them on this. There was a lot of things Donald Trump didn't buck the intelligence community on, and the other establishments on. So the fact that she's saying this, like, I want to see what she has to say in 2024, because we all know Democrats are losing the midterms and they're going to lose the White House. I'm telling you right now, unless miraculously Joe Biden and his fucking dementia rotted brain decide to institute Medicare for all, end the war in Ukraine, start subsidizing homeless people in mass, building free housing and like literally, it's never going to happen. So, which means we're either getting Trump or we're getting DeSantis. I'm telling you that right now. It's either going to be Trump or DeSantis or both. Because I'm like, if they could work out their differences and run on the same ticket, they're going to clean up anybody who runs against them. I promise you, a DeSantis Trump ticket, they're going to wash anybody because you have both. Like, it's the fucking Hydra, because DeSantis doesn't have the personality that Trump does. Now, so I can see him running as his VP and all that jazz. But I want to see what she has to say about Julian Assange in 2024. You know, depending on the case, he's either going to hopefully be freed. You know, it goes his way, which I unfortunately I doubt that's going to happen, or he's going to be here in the U.S. being tortured in one of our supermax, a journalist in a supermax prison. If you watch any of the or hear about any of the how like the court, like actually the court, when he goes to court, they literally have him in like this fucking like glass box, like he's like Hannibal Lecter or some shit. Like he's a journalist, and then on top of that, he's sick. He like literally like there's been so many institutions. I believe the UN even says something about it. The human rights groups have said a lot of things. Like what they're doing is tantamount of torture to him. So, you know, so I want to see if she keeps the same energy on this shit, which I doubt. Just like how when it comes to the war stuff, you know, how she said, and then continue to explain why you shill for the military-industrial complex funding war in Ukraine. Like she's going to be shilling for the military-industrial complex as they ramp up tensions with China. This is how this works. So that I found that interesting because again, you see the Bonapartism playing out here. Once I'm telling you, read the 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte by Karl Marx, and you'll understand. When you see these political skirmishes like this going on, you'll understand completely what's going on and what's happening between your eyes or right before your eyes. You'll understand it deeper and understand how to move accordingly when you see it. So that's that story. Let me take a break real quick. Actually, because I forgot I had something on the stove. Oops. And I will be right back, guys. camera's in the way. Turn the music off. All right, I am back, folks. I am back. So let's go ahead and wrap up the stream, though, with our final story. So, found this article because I found it interesting. It's talking about, so this article is talking about the AUKUS deal, but now they've added a couple countries into it, and it's very telling. So one proxy war with Russia wasn't enough. Now they're trying to ramp up tensions with China, which I've talked about on the channel before. I think I talked about it on my stream, where I like kind of debunked a lot of the like Joe Biden's pro-China stuff running around insanity when you look at the foreign policy, he's been conducting against China. In many ways, Biden has been more hawkish than Trump when it comes to China. So that's very telling, very scary, honestly. So let's go ahead and get into that article. Do I have it pulled up? Should. Boom. Here we go. All right. So this is from Alameddine. New alliance formed in the Pacific, orchestrated by the U.S. It's called the PBP. In the Pacific, the new partners in the Pacific. Oh my God, I can't read right now. The new partners in the Blue Pacific Alliance allegedly seeks to boost the efficacy of ongoing security and economic efforts amidst regional tensions. A new group allegedly aimed to improve economic and security concerns and interests with the Pacific Island was formed between the U.S., Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and the U.K. So previously, when Japan wasn't into it, it was referred to as AUKUS, and it was this military alliance basically created to combat and contain China, which basically means it's here to provoke China, to stoke provocations with China. A joint statement on Friday announced the formation of the informal alliance labeled Partners in the Blue Pacific (PBP), purportedly aimed to boost the efficacy of ongoing efforts to support prosperity, resilience, and security in the region. That basically means to stop China from its economic rise. That's what that means. According to the statement, the PBP will operate according to principles of Pacific regionalism, sovereignty, transparency. All will be led and guided by the Pacific Islands. Wow, really? So you guys know that in a former video, I talked about the Solomon Islands. This is an island that's in the Pacific. It has a history of colonialism, in reference to, when it comes to Australia and things like that. They don't get to have sovereignty. They get accused of being lapdogs to China when they decide to make a beneficial economic deal with China in partnership. And, they get accused of forming a military alliance with China. And even if they're sovereign, who gives a shit? They're a sovereign nation, right? So that's that last line. That's not what that is about. To support prosperity, resilience, and security in the region. That's not what that's about at all. Because if that was true, the United States wouldn't be pressuring the Solomon Islands to drop their partnership with China. That just wouldn't be happening. Australia wouldn't have had to think about it that they had. If this was really about sovereignty and prosperity and resilience, that wouldn't be the case. If this and transparency and sovereignty, accountability, all that stuff, all those buzzwords they like to use, they wouldn't be pressuring Solomon Islands right now in the way that they are to drop their about prosperity. China wouldn't be there in the first place because the Solomon Islands would be like, oh, we love the West. They offer us prosperous deals that make our country, economically stable and things like that. Screw China. China wouldn't be there in the first place. So the fundamental goals of the group, as read in the statement, include the expansion of prospects for cooperation between the Pacific Island nations and the rest of the world. The statement also read that the region is faced with the most urgent challenges, including the climate crisis, COVID-19, and growing pressure on the rules-based, free, and international order. So what that means is, well, China's becoming more powerful. They're basically telling us to go fuck ourselves, more often than not. And we don't like that. So we're going to make these dumbass alliances and do these dumbass provocations just to, basically as a dick measuring contest, basically. Furthermore, White House Indo-Pacific Coordinator Kurt Campbell said on Thursday that more high-level U.S. officials will visit the Pacific Islands in the future, recognizing that nothing replaces our really diplomatic boots on the ground. Sovereignty is central in terms of how we see the Pacific overall. Any initiative, if you understand the history of the United States and basically Europe in these Pacific Island nations, you would know that that's bullshit on its face. Or calls into question that sovereignty, I think we would have concerns with, and they're talking about China with that. Campbell said without mentioning China specifically, but that's what they're talking about. In a different statement, Kurt Campbell, White House Indo-Pacific Coordinator, said on Thursday that more high-level U.S. officials will visit the Pacific Islands in the future, recognizing that nothing replaces really diplomat. I just read that. The officials added, sovereignty is central in terms of how we see the Pacific overall. Any initiative that compromises or calls into question that sovereignty, I think we would have concerns with. The Campbell and PBP statements appeared to be a reference to China's regional approach to economic and political sustainability, as well as the security pact China signed with the Solomon Islands earlier in April, which I was just talking about. Moreover, in the Pacific, Australia was worried that the Solomon Islands security pact could be a step towards a Chinese military presence less than 2,000 kilometers away. Jesus Christ. So they're allowed to have basically a de facto NATO country in Ukraine on Russia's doorstep, like literally right on their fucking border. But they're willing to do all these provocations with China and basically, say fuck the Solomon Islands sovereignty, based upon them having a partnership with China where they're accusing them of possibly doing a military deal, which hasn't been factually proven at all. So it's insanity. Like it's insanity and hypocrisy at the highest levels. So Ukraine can have sovereignty, but the Solomon Islands can't. Okay. On the other side, the US, UK, and Australia had formed their AUKUS alliance amid China concerns. The alliance was based on enhancing Australia's nuclear capabilities through advanced technology and nuclear submarines in order to increase the alliance's strength in the South Pacific as China. And that's what I said before, too. Um, Late in September of 2021, the US, UK, and Australia formed a military alliance to boost nuclear capabilities and strengthen stability in the Indo-Pacific region as the West grows wary of China, although they did not mention that. And when they say nuclear capabilities, they're giving Australia these nuclear submarines. The United States actually fucked France out of a deal because France was originally supposed to build these nuclear powered subs for Australia, but the United States basically said, "Yeah, fuck off, Macron." and Macron was pissed about it. They actually had a settlement for Australia to basically give them $500 million out of like the couple billion they were supposed to give them or something like that to do this project. But France was pretty pissed about this. Um, but continuing, the military alliance is known as AUKUS and was announced during a trilateral virtual meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and Australian Prime Minister at the time, Scott Morrison. I don't think Morrison is still the Prime Minister. That's what I said at the time. I don't think he's still Prime Minister. But conversely, the Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands, Manasseh Sogavare, accused Australia of hypocrisy, saying that Canberra should have been more transparent with other Pacific nations when signing the AUKUS Pact before accusing the new Honieta Beijing security agreement of secrecy. China and the Solomon Islands signed a framework agreement on security cooperation on April 19th. The construction of a Chinese military base in the Solomon Islands, according to Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, will be a red line. So you see how they say that's a red line. On his account, Manasseh Sogavare told Parliament, as cited by Australian broadcaster ABC News, that one would expect that as a member of the Pacific family, the Solomon Islands and members of the Pacific should have been consulted to ensure this AUKUS treaty is transparent, since it will affect the Pacific family by allowing nuclear submarines in Pacific waters. So Govare stated that he learned about Australia's security agreement with the United Kingdom and the United States from the media. Furthermore, a senior Solomon Islands official has defended his country's freedom to pick its friends, saying that the security agreement agreed between the Solomon Islands and China was necessary to protect domestic security and aid in the battle against climate change. So again, there you have it. Ukraine can have its sovereignty, but these people can't. These, for all intents and purposes, black people on this island. Because if you see the prime minister, he's, for all intents and purposes, what we call black here in the West. But yeah, insanity and hypocrisy at the highest level. But they're doing all these war games to counter China because they have nothing. They have nothing to offer these countries. They really don't. They have nothing to offer them except more austerity, more wars, more bullshit. That's just the fact of the matter, and this shows that. So, I want to be keeping an eye on this situation. Friday, we're going to be talking about the new Columbia Oxford study that came out that basically debunked the debt trap, which people like me have been doing for the last 3 fucking years, or two years, basically, since all this nonsense about China started. Definitely go check out Danny Haifong's work when it comes to China. Check out Li Jingjing as well. She's pretty good. Um, I'm drawing a blank on his name. He goes on Caleb Maupin's show a lot, but definitely Caleb Maupin too. I would say Jackson Hinkle as well when it comes to these things. A lot of people that talk about China, so not just me. But that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead stream out there. Your boy got to go ahead and hit the hay for work tomorrow morning. It's been a pleasure, doing some of the news with you guys. I'm gonna try to be back on here Wednesday talking about some stories and everything. So hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.